Okay, so I had no idea that one was ending, but that's okay. So we were finding f of g of 3. So here's 3 in the g function. So 3 in the g function is 2. So now we got to go over here to the f function and find its value at 2, which is 2. So over here, the answer is 2. Before I go down and put that final answer, we've got the answers of 4, we got the answers of 1, and we got the answer of 2. I'm going to do the last one, and the last one is f of g of 4. Okay, f of g of 4. 4 has a y value of 1, so the g function has a 4, 1 is the y value. X value is 4, y value is 1. So now run over here and find out what the y value is when x is 1, and the answer is 3. So on the f of g function, I plugged in 1, I got 4. I plugged in 2, I got 1. I plugged in 3, I got 2. I plugged in 4, I got 3. So when I scroll down here, it should be 4, 1, 2, 3. 4, 1. Oh, I keep forgetting my pen. 4, 1, 2, 3. Okay, recognize that g of f is not the same thing. G of f, we're going to start with the f function. We're going to take our first values from the f function, then we're going to plug them into the g function. Okay, so I'm going to scroll up here so that we can see. We're doing g of f this time. Okay, so let me maybe change colors. Okay, so we're doing g of f of 1. Okay, so we start over here. Plug in 1, we get 3. Since we got 3, we run down here and see what the y value is when we get to 3, and it's 2. Okay, the next one is g of f of 2. Let's come over here. When we plug in x to the f function, we get a 2. We take that 2, we plug it into the g function, we get a 3. Okay, g of f of 3. Okay, we plug in 3 into the f function, we get a 1. Take that 1, plug it into the g function, we get a 4. And the last one is g of f of 4. Plug in 4 into the f function, we get a 4. Take that 4, plug it into the g function, we get a 1. So in my table over here, for my g of f of 1, 2, 3, 4, my answers are 2, 3, 4, 1. So those are right in the way. So the answers are, let me change colors. 2, well here, let me do it right here. 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, I just don't have time or a space to write it in there. But 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay. Let's go over here and see. What does it mean, g of h of t? What is another way that you can write g of h of t? Okay, another way that we can write this. The g function is being evaluated last. The h function is being evaluated at t. So we're going to evaluate the h function first, plug in a value for t, get the value for the h function, then plug it into g. Explain how f of g is different from f times g. Y'all don't really know that yet. That's a times symbol.
Last call for the buses.
Okay, and that's what we're going to do in section 5-1. We're going to multiply those together. This does not mean multiply. This is the symbol for composite functions, and it does not mean multiply. This means I'm actually going to multiply the f function times the g function. Okay, so here they're saying, given this, write an equation for that. Explain how to find your answer. Oh, they're being mean. Okay, so they want you to, remember this means plug. The T function, plug, the T is in the Q function. Sorry, that's a Q, not a G. That's a Q. And then we're going to take that function and plug it into the P. Okay, so the P function is the main one. So the P function is something squared plus 4. So if we're plugging something into the P function, we got to plug it in right there, right? Well, what they're telling me to plug into the P function is the Q function. So I'm going to take this right here, and it's going to go in this equation for T. So what are we going to put there? Not T, but the Q function, which is T plus 3. Okay. Now for this part, it says use these 3 functions. So this says plug 2 into the F function, and then take that answer and plug it into the G function. Okay, so I'm going to take F of 2. That means 2 squared, I get 4. Okay, so now I'm going to take that 4 and plug it into the G function. That means 2 times 4 minus 1. That's 8 minus 1. I get 7. Okay. This says to do the opposite. I got to do 2 into the G function. So G of 2 is 2 times 2 minus 1. 4 minus 1 is 3. And now F of 3 is 3 squared, which is 9. Okay, what else do we have to do? Number 8. Okay, they want us to write a brand new equation by taking the F function and plugging it into the G function. Okay, so I'm going to start. I'm going to come up with my brand new equation. I'm going to write my G function out, but everywhere I have something to plug in, I'm just going to put a parentheses. Okay, so that's my G function. See, there's my G function. 2 times parentheses minus 1. All right, now what's going to go in the parentheses? The F function. This function right here is going in right there. So instead of writing x, I'm going to write x squared. Now, we're actually through, but we can simplify this because we can say 2 times x squared is just 2x squared minus 1. Okay, do it the other way around. Rewrite the f function. The f function is just something squared. Okay, and what is the something squared? Okay, if I erase this, that something squared is, I'm going to take the G function, this right here, and I'm going to plug it in right there, and I'm going to square it. So that means what's being squared is the 2x minus 1. Now, I am going to go ahead and square that. I don't think that's part of the problem, but I am going to go ahead and square it just because we've got this coming up in a couple of weeks. We might as well start practicing it now. So if I take that function and I square it, that means when I square something, I multiply it times itself. So I'm going to use FOIL. 2x times 2x is 4x squared. That's first. Here's the outer. 2x times negative 1. That's negative 2x. Here's the inner. Multiply those two together. Negative 1 times 2x is negative 2x. And then here's the last. Multiply the last two terms together. Negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. Now simplify that because those two are like terms, so we can put them together. We get 4x squared minus 4x plus 1. This and this are the same thing. The only reason